Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. Today I will feature a missing woman named Sarah Padgett, Padgett. She has been missing since April the 2nd, which was 11 days ago. I don't know if I've looked online to find any updates, and I haven't been able to find anything saying that she's been found or her car. She's 83 years old, and this is in Shelbyville, Tennessee. She's 5'1" and 150 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. A silver alert was issued on behalf of the Shelbyville Police Department for Sarah Padgett. Sarah is 83 years old, and she was last seen in Shelbyville, Tennessee. She has a medical condition that may impair her ability to return on her own without assistance. If you have seen Sarah or have any information regarding her whereabouts, please contact the Shelbyville Police Department at 931-684-5811. She may be traveling in a blue Nissan car with the Tennessee license plate 476BHBC. It's a blue, like a royal blue color, and this is supposed to be a photo of her actual car. The license plate is Tennessee 476BHBC. And if anyone has any information or if anyone should spot this car, you are asked to contact one of these phone numbers: 1-800-TBI-FIND or 931-684-5811. Today's story I found on Reddit from the page Unresolved Mysteries. 21 years ago this week, 16-year-old Amber Cates was dropped off by a friend at a garage in Columbia, Tennessee. She has never been seen since. Amber Elizabeth Cates was born in Spring Hill, Tennessee in 1988. She was part of a blended family, having siblings from both her father's previous marriage and his marriage to her mother, Trudy. According to all these published reports on the case, she lived in several states, including Texas and Georgia, before moving back to Tennessee when she was in her teens. She was placed in foster care in Tennessee for about a year. It doesn't give the dates here. Since her mother was living in Tennessee, there must have been some type of an issue as to why Amber didn't live with her mother, and her father died sometime possibly in 1999. In April 2004, Amber was 16 years old. She was in high school, and according to her sister Brenda Cates, she was a funny, energetic, typical teenager. But she started running around with the wrong crowd of people. She started drinking and possibly doing some drugs. Brenda became Amber's legal guardian in April of 2004. In April 2004, Amber was dropped off at her mother's for spring break. Amber was to go visit a relative in Panama City, Florida for a few days. She was scheduled to leave on April 11th. She was picked up at her mother's home by her boyfriend, James Gordon, and they drove away in a gold Mazda with license plate PFB 200. No one in her family has ever seen or heard from her since. The family filed a missing persons report when Amber did not return from Florida, but they come to find out that Amber had never gone to Florida. She was supposed to go to Florida on a spring break getaway, but she didn't make it. But when Amber had had no contact with her family and her cell phone had not been used, the police began to focus on this case as foul play. James Gordon told police that he took Amber to Colombia. He said he dropped her off with another friend. This was 39-year-old Ronald Incurriaga. Now, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. Incurriaga. But he went by the nickname California. In 1992, California had been convicted of the rape of an adult female and was serving time in an Alabama prison from 1992 to 1998. Police located him in 2007 for questions about Amber. He was then in a federal prison in Talladega, Alabama. According to Ronald, he and Amber had had lunch together at the Waffle House on James Campbell Boulevard, and then Amber went to a store and bought some hair dye. He said he then dropped her off at a garage in Columbia where she and a friend were going to hang out. This was the last known sighting of Amber. Police took cadaver dogs to the place where Amber was supposedly last seen, but there was no scent of her and they picked up nothing. Police have followed up on tips from all over. So what it's saying here is that people came forward and said, she's alive and I saw her over here, or I know her and I hung out with her, but police were never able to verify any of these. In 2008, the FBI joined forces with law enforcement to investigate the case. A $25,000 reward has been offered. The case didn't see much movement until 2023 when the Maury County Sheriff's Police established a cold case unit and put Amber's case as the top priority. They published an age progression photo of Amber. They got DNA from Amber's mother as well as a sample of Amber's hair from a hairbrush. These were sent to a lab in Texas to create a DNA profile. And they used this DNA profile to check against the records of missing persons or persons who had been dozed, women who had been found, the remains, to see if any of them matched Amber. And the results of the DNA investigation are unknown at this time. A search of the Duck River, which flows through Columbia, was planned for March of 2010. Members of the family had eerie feelings when crossing bridges over this river. Now keep in mind, for those of you who watched a recent video that I did about a man named Bobby Smelser, his skull was found in the Duck River in Tennessee. He'd gone missing from his home. A co-worker claimed that he dropped him off at his house, and that was the last time that anyone reported seeing him alive. And years later, after all these searches have been conducted in the area, someone fishing in the Duck River found his skull. So I'm not saying that there's any connection, but it was just that was a coincidence. Both of these, the Duck River being a place that they decided to search. Amber's sister Brenda has kept her name alive as much as she was able to in Tennessee. She's had prayer vigils and has appeared in parades with signs about Amber. She has organized fundraisers to help with the cost of billboards, t-shirts, and signs. She's had signs placed on the sides of trucks. She keeps a Facebook page called Bring Amber Elizabeth Cates Home. In 2017, she hired an investigator to look into the case. Brenda has her thoughts about what happened. which she shared with investigators but not with the public. She believes Amber is deceased and is probably still somewhere in Maury County. Now, because of a true crime podcast, Amber's mother, Trudy Cates Currington, became the subject of criticism because she didn't speak publicly about the case and didn't come to the memorial vigils. A petition was entered on change.org in 2014 for police to give her a polygraph and re-question her. One of Amber's sisters signed it. They only got about 40 signatures. It should go without saying that people grieve in their own ways, and that doesn't mean anything nefarious. But it does point to a tension within the family. Trudy herself has stated that she and Amber were close, and that Amber would not have just up and left without telling her where she was going. I think Amber sounds like the kind of teenager who did come and go at her own leisure and probably would have told somebody, because I don't think anybody would really have given her a rule to follow and say you cannot go, you have a curfew, you have to be home by 10 p.m. or whatever. She was planning to go to Florida at 16 years of age, and it doesn't say who with. And so I think she was probably a free spirit who probably did have a lot of freedom. Now, the mother says that someone did pick her up and that she left with this guy, and that he confirms that he picked her up and dropped her off. Now, he was supposedly her boyfriend, but he says he dropped her off with this 39-year-old man. So was this some type of trafficking? Was he a provider of young girls to these older men? I don't know. I couldn't find a whole lot about him. Theories about what happened to Amber include that she was trafficked, just like I just said. They also include that she ran away and changed her identity and started a new life. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because, like I said, she was someone who probably had a lot of freedom. And the fact that she'd been in a foster home, and the fact that she wasn't living with her mother at the time and she was living with an older sister. Very shortly before she disappeared, she'd become the ward of this older sister. And so I think the older sister probably gave her quite a bit of freedom to do as she pleased. And I'm not blaming the sister or the mother, but I'm just saying that they probably did just let Amber have her way. It seems unlikely that a 16-year-old with no money would just up and change her identity and start a new life. She was hanging out with older men, which is concerning for a 16-year-old. Naturally, the theory is that she met with foul play at the hands of the people she was with when she disappeared. Since she left the home with James Gordon, it seems like she never intended to go to Florida. Now, whether this get-together with this Ronald in Sariga was part of her plan, everything about her trip to Colombia seems very suspicious, with one man bringing her to meet another, the second man leaving her and claiming not to know what happened afterwards. Why was Amber friends with a 39-year-old ex-convict? I think this Ronald holds the answers. James Gordon probably too, but I think this Ronald guy probably knows the truth. It is unclear who else was supposed to have been at this garage where he claims that he dropped her off. Who was she supposed to have gone to Florida with? Were these people questioned? Is it possible that she did hook up with them and go to Florida and something happened to her along that way or after she got to Florida? Or was the trip to Florida all just made up? It's frustrating that police got a late start before they considered her a runaway, because they considered her a runaway. And even so, I ask this question. Even if she was a runaway, she was still a 16-year-old. Why did they not investigate the possibility that even if she was a runaway, that they needed to find out what was going on and try to find her and bring her home? The Cold Case Unit and the FBI have not given up. If anyone has any information about Amber Cates' case, they should contact the Maury County Sheriff's Office at 931-375-8602. If she is alive, she's a grown woman. Now, this is from the Daily Herald, and this was written in 2013. I don't know what they mean by that. Saying that if she's alive, she's an adult, so she can do what she pleases. She could be hiding, choosing not to be found anywhere in the world. She may have been exploited, her childhood shattered by predators who chose to fulfill their own dark desires. Because there is a $25,000 reward, it stands to reason that if she were alive and now she's an adult, she would just come forward and she would just say, I'm okay. Here, I've just chosen to move on with my life and not have anything to do with this family anymore. But most people don't believe that. Most people believe that she was kidnapped or trafficked, murdered, possibly. Brenda James, her sister, has held candlelight vigils every year since her half-sister disappeared. I believe within my heart that Amber is dead, she says, and I'm pretty sure she's still somewhere nearby. She declined to say what her theory was, as has been reported several times. Now, I want to jump back real quick here just a second, and I want to say this. The fact that some of the family members got a petition together to try to get the mother to to take a polygraph. Do they believe that the mother made up this whole story about Amber having been at her house and having left with this James Gordon? I don't think James Gordon denied picking her up. So the mother's involvement in it is kind of, to me, I just think that the mother told the truth. I think Amber came to her house and this guy came and picked her up. He and this Ronald man know what happened to her, this man that went by the nickname California. I believe that they both, or at least one of them, knows what happened to her. Brenda James said that this Ronald told her that that he was riding a motorcycle. He took Amber to get something to eat at Waffle House, and then he took her to a store to buy some hair color. And after that, he dropped her off at this garage. And both of these men, this Gordon and this Ronald California, have both been interviewed, and nothing has changed with their stories. Now, this James Gordon was said to have been quite a bit older than Amber as well, but I couldn't find anything given his age. So now this Ronald in Sariga, apparently, he put himself with Amber, and he didn't deny that he said that he took Amber to have lunch or breakfast at the Waffle House. He took her to drop her off to buy some hair dye, and then after the hair dye, he gave her a ride to this garage. He says that he dropped her off there and that there were some men there, but he didn't know who they were, and he didn't hang around, and he just left her there. She had told him that she... So how did he get up with Amber from this James Gordon? In this story, the earlier story that I read, James Gordon was said to have been her boyfriend. Like I said, I couldn't find an age for him to say how old he was. Was he a married man? Did he drop Amber off to get rid of her? Did he put her off on this other guy because he didn't want to be seen with Amber. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. Whatever the case was, for whatever reason, he picked Amber up. I think if he was her true boyfriend, he would not have just left her with another man and gone off. And this Ronald, was he, were they both involved in some type of human trafficking? Were both of their stories completely bogus? Or did Amber really go to this garage and meet up with a family friend, as she said? At the time of her disappearance, Amber Cates was 5 foot 5 inches tall. She weighed around 100 pounds. She had blondish hair, and she was known to dye her hair. And just like in the story, this man said that she had gone to buy hair dye that day. Could that have been a story to cover up her appearance? I mean, what I'm getting at is if he said, okay, her hair was blonde, but she was going to dye it red or she was going to dye it brown, would the police have been looking for her with that hair color, or having thought that maybe the hair dye was a way for her to sneak away from her family without them really being able to know that it was her? Amber was a white female, light brown or blonde hair with hazel eyes. And she was 16 years old, around 100 pounds, and 5 foot 5 inches tall. Some theories are that Amber was trafficked, that Amber was a gullible, vulnerable teenager who, like I said earlier, was left to her own devices in lots of cases, that she was just kind of between family members, between foster homes and her family, and probably given a lot of freedom. And this could have put her in the crosshairs of some of these people who were in human trafficking. This is a theory that could have been that these men were involved in this, that they took her to this garage, or the whole garage story may have all been bogus and made up. The whole Waffle House story may have been bogus and made up. And these men this James Gordon may have been paid to pick her up and bring her to meet with these traffickers. My own personal theory is that the story of James Gordon and this Ronald California are they've covered for each other. They were both involved in some manner, because of this James Gordon, who others said was her boyfriend, or she considered to be her boyfriend. I couldn't really find much about him. And the fact that he would take a girl that he was interested in, that he thought of as a girlfriend, if he did think of her in that way, or if that was just a rumor that her mother told everyone that he was her boyfriend. I think he knows what happened to Amber in at least the capacity that who he left her with. He never denied leaving her with this Ronald, and he's putting the next person, he's shifting his role in this to the next person, this California. California is shifting his role in this to the next guy, apparently, who was the unknown person. And so I think that the two of them should really have been investigated much more, their backgrounds. I know this Ronald had served time for rape and was in prison when they found him to interview him. I think James Gordon, I really don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it appears that for some reason he did leave her with this Ronald. Now, did he leave her? Was that his intention to begin with when he came and picked her up? Was James Gordon a go-between between this Amber and this older man that maybe was really who she was involved with? That's my question to James Gordon. Why did he pick her up and then drop her off with this other man and just leave? Thanks for watching.